Today at Manchester Theatres, I am here chatting with the much loved comedian, actor, chat show host, podcaster, and writer that is Tommy Tiernan. Now, Tommy is known for being in hit shows such as Derry Girls, Father Ted, and Small Potato, as well as films Dark Lies the Island and Wolf Walkers. Of course, he is the host of the brilliantly unique The Tommy Tiernan Show. He is a sought-after guest on other people's shows, such as The Late Late Show, QI, Michael McIntyre Comedy Roadshow, The Lee Mack Show. He's also a podcaster with two different shows out there. And of course, a stand-up comedian doing shows worldwide that are always sellout shows and are fantastic. The latest one has got the best name ever. I love it. The latest one is Tommedian, and it is coming to the Manchester Opera House on the 15th of April. So we've got Tommy here to talk all about it. And thank you for joining us, Tommy.
My pleasure, Karen. That sounds quite an impressive CV. I wish I was me.
I wish I was you as well, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. So the show, the blurby bit that you get when it tells you about an upcoming event, it says that it is going to be a fun-fueled trip through your imagination. So that kind of already tells me to expect the unexpected. So what can we expect? Is it going to be as bonkers as it sounds?
No, that bit of blurb was actually written by a robot that works for me, so I know I don't know. All I can say is that I have a fierce commitment to the process of being on stage. It's not a casual thing for me. I believe in Shakespearean excess. So whatever I do, it would be large and emphatic. And in terms of the actual material, a lot of it will be decided in the moment. So I might have pockets full of stories, and not be entirely sure which ones I'm going to tell or in what order I'm going to tell them. And I'll also be looking for ways of kind of communicating that day's ideas.
Hmm.
So notions I have that day or things I noticed about Manchester or so it's a kind of a mixture. So it's being totally and utterly committed to something that you haven't quite prepared for. That would be my technique.
I love it. So then any show that you go to of yours then could be complete, even though it's the same tour, it could kind of be completely different. Well, not completely, but have
No,
like new elements.
it's kind of like cooking, So I've like eight ingredients, and one day it might be a paella, and the next day it might be just like a really boring meat and two veg, but they're the same ingredients. And I'm always trying to throw in a little bit of local spice as well on top of it. That's the idea anyway. But I worked as an actor before I started doing stand up,
Yeah.
so I'm used to also working with script. So if I have a story that I know works in a particular way, there's the joy of the craft of that and the joy of the performing that in the right way. So there's a mixture of a load of things. I think what stand up offers is a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And if it's a kind of a myself and the audience have a contract of depravity. I'll I'll be as insane as they will allow me.
I love it. So I guess then, it also says what the robot's written that there's going to be like memories and characters
Hmm.
and physical comedy and things. So because you've got such a varied career, you meet loads of different people in life? Do you kind of have a memory bank of like mannerisms or little conversations or bits and pieces that you can then pull on for this kind of thing?
No, I'm not that technically savvy at all. I'm not like you sometimes you see an interview with an actor and they say, "Oh, um, I was coming up with the character and I thought I'd do my uncle Nigel's walk." And I'd give him a squint that I saw that old lady have in the body shop in Wigan. I'm not that I'm not that diligent. So no, it really is. I trade in the obvious. So it's not really. I'm no Mark Rylance. I'm more like a children's television host who's kind of hit Skid Row that's probably, if you can imagine, maybe remember years ago the presenters on Blue Peter were always so kind of clean cut. If you can
Yeah.
imagine one of them on an 8-day drinking binge, that would be the type of thing that I do. It's all very, it's all slightly manic, but with a hint of innocence behind it.
Oh God, you make me laugh. So so when you're doing this then, a heckler's still a thing? Like, does this still
Oh
happen
yeah,
to you? And
oh, it's
I
really
guess,
important.
yeah.
It's really important. It's one of the only times where powerless members of the public get to affect what they're seeing. So I often think that hecklers are just, they spend a lot of time at home shouting at the television and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Shouting at the news or Emmerdale, and no one is paying any attention to them. And they, they go to the cinema, they go to the opera, or they go to a theatre, and nothing happens. But they go to stand up, and the performance suddenly stops and becomes about them. So I think heckling is really important.
Yeah.
It's vital. It's a great democratic weapon.
It is.
Really,
You've
it's
got.
brilliant.
Have you ever been thrown by it, or do you just kind of? I mean, I know you embrace it, but have you ever had one where
Yeah,
you're like, I'm not sure what to do with that?
loads of times. Yeah, sometimes the audience can be really funny. I remember I was doing a show in a part of Ireland called Cavan one time, and the people in Cavan would kind of talk like that. It's a kind of a slow drawl, It's kind of it's located at the back of the throat, and it's kind of slow with a hint of violence somewhere underneath it. It could go nasty. And I was doing a bit of material about how about women's weight. No, not in a nasty way. What I was saying was that there are parts of the country that give you bigger dinners than other parts of the country. Like I don't know, and it's usually on truck driving routes. Like if it's a big haulage town, the dinners are massive. You go into a cafe and you get this massive heap of food. So I was just kind of saying the part of Cavan I was in was famous for big people, and I was saying, what's thin in Cavan mightn't be thin in other parts of the country. The people are, and I was asking the women. I said, "What's thin in Cavan?" I said, "Come on, ladies, tell me." And there was no response, and it got really quiet. I says, "What's thin in Cavan?" And this woman shouts out, "The line you're walking." So stuff like that was just really smart.
Yeah.
But generally, if a heckle shuts you up, uh, the audience will be laughing because the
Yeah.
heckle is so good.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win thing for the audience. Either the comedian says something funny back, or the heckle is funny enough in itself.
Yeah.
So it's never really it's a challenge to the comic. But they're good things. They're good.
And you've got lots of opportunities for this because your tour you've got about 35 dates across 2 months, but then you've got a
Mm.
break, and then you've got like a whole 2 week stint in Dublin as well, haven't you? Is
So
that right?
yeah, I mean, I work hard. I do,
Mm.
and I kind of feel as if stand up was never a part-time thing for me, and the way to stay as good as you can be is to keep doing it. Now you keep doing it, but you do have to kind of navigate uh, phases where you're off. You're just you just have 6 weeks, and you're you're a disgrace to the profession. When you get to the far side of that, and you might be good again for a night or two, and then another 6 weeks of shame, and then you're back and you're good. So it's about keep doing it.
Yeah.
There's a great Buddhist notion, which is that don't eat unless you do a bit of work.
Well,
See what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I do something every day. Might be something small. Might wash the cat, or you know name clouds. But I do something every day, and I deserve me dinner then at 6 o'clock.
You've earned it. You've earned
Yeah, yeah.
it. Whether it's your meat and two veg or your paella, who knows?
Who knows? Spaghetti
So,
bollock naked.
I've got to ask you about your chat show, the Tommy Tiernan show, because it is brilliantly unique. You know, you've taken this age-old thing of this format of a chat show, completely turned it on its head and made it fresh again. So you get people coming on the show, you have no idea who you're going to interview. Sometimes you might not even know who they are. I mean, again, is that the kind of energy that you like working with? Because it would terrify a lot of people. I've got to bow down to you, because it just keeps it fresh, doesn't it?
Well, because so for the people watching, so yeah, I have no idea who's going to come on. I do 3 guests per show, and they can be famous or just have a very interesting story, but I have no idea who's going to walk out. So there's no preparation done for the interview. And because there's no preparation, you have to listen. And you follow little things that come up, and people just find that really refreshing, because a lot of interviews now seem to be prepackaged and overly managed, I think. So the listening thing is interesting. I was watching a great interview with Walter Matthau. Yeah, people might know him from The Odd Couple, the movie with Jack Lemmon. And he was talking about listening being a really important part of acting. And he said that very often in a movie, he would find out if the other actor was listening by throwing in a line that wasn't in the script and seeing how the other actor reacted. So they would be having a big argument about something, and then Walter Matthau would just ask, "Do you like peanuts?"
What?
And then Walter Matthau knew for the rest of the scene that the other actor would be slightly on edge, but listening. So I think that's what the chat show is as well. Nobody knows what anybody's going to say, so you have to listen.
Yeah.
And I think people find that refreshing, maybe.
Yeah. Honestly, it is so clever, and you get, like you say, incredible guests, whether they're famous or people who've got a story to tell. It is really interesting, and I'm wondering if it's something that you would consider kind of touring in a theatre setting and getting like local, whether it's celebs or local people in. Again, you don't know who they are on that day, and then doing it that way. Do you think it would work that way, or?
It might do, but that idea of there's a show or a thing called interviewing the audience that a few different people have tried, where you arrive and you interview people from the audience. That would be kind of interesting. You know, I think my real ambition, I think my ultimate in life would be to end up as a guest on Loose Women. I think that's my
there we go.
ultimate.
Loose Women, you've got your next guest. Can you imagine? I love it.
All this stand up and all this chat show stuff has just been aroused to try and get myself on Loose Women.
Sit there with your cup of tea with your branded mug.
Yeah, covered in HRT patches.
Oh. So you do so many different things, and like, you know, we've said you've got your chat show, you do stand up, you act, you write, you've got your podcast. Do you have a favorite, or is it kind of like when you're, I don't know, food, you change your mind and it depends on your mood, or what you're hungry for at that given time?
So sometimes with my attraction to the chat show was always that if you say something funny, you don't have to repeat it. So you know what I mean? If you're in conversation and you come up with something funny because my mind is slightly designed that way, and it's there and it's done and loads of people see it, and you don't have to do it in the next interview. Sometimes that's very attractive to me. But what I don't get from that is the adrenaline of being in front of a large audience.
Yeah.
And I love that because it affects you on a kind of chemical level. Yeah. It's a massive vitamin and it's so organic, and it's a dynamic thing. It could be 1,000 people and they're sending energy towards you. It's so I love it. So I think it's just about kind of bopping between the two. It's the live stuff is demanding because it takes energy out of you, and you usually have to be traveling in order to do it. But that's attractive as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it mightn't sound like an attractive life, waking up in Manchester and traveling to Hull, but it kind of is exciting.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
suppose it's finding that balance, isn't it? Because if you were doing that all the time, it'd be, even though you say you're getting all of this energy, it would actually be exhausting to just do that, I imagine.
I think so. Even though I do work hard, I do, generally speaking, I do 3 or 4 shows a week
Mm.
for 40 weeks of the year. So it's kind of, it suits me to do it, and it's a privilege, and I'm lucky. I remember an ex-girlfriend of mine said to me one time, and she said it with such spite. She said, "You're so lucky."
That's a backhanded compliment, isn't it?
Oh, there was venom in it. There was real venom in it. There was kind of like, you think you're good, but you're not. You're just fortunate.
Oh, well, some people, they're the people that they've never tried it, have they? They don't know the hard work that goes into it.
That was exactly my reply to her. You've no idea how difficult it is to daydream all day.
And do you find, so you've mentioned there, obviously, you might wake up in Manchester, at the end of the day, you might be driving to Hull or goodness knows where else. And you've already sort of said that your material, you've got all these ideas, but it can chop and change in the order and everything. Do you find that audience feedback and reactions are different as well, dependent on where you are in the country? Do you have to adapt to that, or do you kind of make them adapt to you? Or
No, there's a definite. It almost feels like a working class divide in that there. Once you go beyond Birmingham, there does seem to be the people are a bit more muscular in their attitudes, a bit more, there's a kind of always a smoker's cough in the audience. They're a bit wilder, a bit more kind of rougher around the edges, and there is that thing definitely of moving into the south where it's a little more genteel. I remember once I did a tour of America, and I was told beforehand, oh, this is a red state, this is a blue state. These people are going to be conservative. These people are going to be liberal. So I found in the Republican states that the audiences laughed more because they didn't care what you said. They were kind of working. It was like in St. Pittsburgh. It's a hard working town, and they didn't care what the joke. They had no idea of political correctness. They just wanted jokes, be funny. And then in San Francisco, where you might expect the audience to be a little bit cooler, they were just so conservative. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, no, you shouldn't have said that. So there's a little bit of that in England, but it's not as strong. So I would find that, say, not an audience in Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, these places are, they're more similar to Ireland or something. Maybe the working class is more of a grip on the city, whereas in the south it can be a little bit more careful, a little bit more oversensitive, or something. But they're kind of just. And that's not an accurate diagnosis. That's just a kind of a sense of possibility. They're a little bit like that.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting that like you have this body of work and everyone's can look at it differently and find it different and get different things from it. And I think that's part of the joy of the creative process as well. And like all the different elements to what you do, that bits of it will appeal to some people, others will love it, others will be like, oh, I'm not so sure. And
I'm just you reminded me there, the most conservative place that I played on the last tour, I was kind of shocked by this, was Cambridge. They were just so kind of scared is the wrong word, but they were just very wary.
Yeah.
Like they didn't trust. Like I kind of fall onto stage like a mystery tramp, and they didn't trust it. So you have this kind of these cathedrals of learning, but the people can be quite conservative in them. It's kind of a strange one. That was the most conservative crowd in the last tour for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting, and honestly, it sounds like it is just going to be the most fun. And I, for one, cannot wait for it to come.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
The name itself is genius. Tommedian. I just love it. Tommedian. I mean, yeah, of course. So thank you so much for joining us. You can catch Tommy's show at the Manchester Opera House on the 15th of April. Of course, it is touring everywhere, so you can go on his website and have a look at all the different areas as well. But go and watch it. It is going to just be an absolute blast. Thank you so much, Tommy. We really appreciate your time, because I know that you are very busy and hardworking. So thank you. Cheers.
My pleasure, Karen. Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.